Hi there, this is Jin Yuan. I'm a software engineer at Alibaba Cloud Database, PolarDB for my SQL team. Thanks for joining PolarDB Global Hackathon. In this webinar, I would like to show you how to get started with PolarDB for MySQL by building up a website. Please feel free to leave your questions and comments below, and we will reply one by one. Before we get started, please make sure you already sign up for the PolarDB Hackathon on Tencent platform and apply Hackathon PolarDB free trial. To build the website, I'm using the Alibaba Cloud ECS as hosting. This is highly recommended for your projects to be accessed easier. You can also use your local host. Now let's get started. Let's start on PolarDB Hands-On homepage. PolarDB Hands-On is a collection of database-centric solutions with PolarDB, showcasing various features in PolarDB MySQL and how to use them in all kinds of different scenarios. You can check out the instructions on various topics and try the labs yourself. But today, we will be building a highly reliable website with PolarDB. We will use Alibaba Cloud ECS and PolarDB MySQL, featuring advanced global database network. We will start with the newly created PolarDB instance and freshly installed ECS instance. ECS is optional but highly recommended. All the steps in the video is also available in this repository, so you don't have to worry about missing any details. First, install dependencies on the web host. In this demo, we have an Alibaba Cloud ECS instance with CentOS system. You can host your project anywhere. Next, we will configure PolarDB. Go to PolarDB console, select cluster section, and go to the instance page by clicking on cluster ID links. You will need a public cluster endpoint to access PolarDB. In Cluster Endpoints block, click Apply to apply for a public endpoint. In this demo, we will create an endpoint named Demo123. Select Accounts on the left and click Create Account to create a new account to access PolarDB. In this demo, we will create a standard account named Test User with password123. Select the databases on the left and click Create Database to create a database. In this demo, we will create a database named pboot CMS and authorize test user to read and write it. In order to connect to PolarDB, you will need to whitelist incoming IP address. Select whitelists on the left, add IP whitelist or modify the existing default whitelist to allow your web host to access to the database. In this demo, we will use 0.0.0.0 to allow any incoming traffic. You can verify if the database is running by logging into the database with the public endpoint and user account just created. Next, set up the website on your web host. In this demo, we will use an open source project called pboot CMS. First, clone the project and set up necessary files. Next, import sample data for the website. You can check out the imported data by connecting to the database from command line or going to Instance Overview and click Login to Database. You can see pboot CMS database is already populated with website data. Next, configure your website to connect to PolarDB. Make sure port 80 is open to public network on your web host and restart HTTPD. Now the website should be up and running. Next, we will enable GDN. Go to PolarDB console. Select GDN from the left and create GDN. Select your existing database region as primary region and the database as your primary cluster. Now you've created a GDN. Click on the GDN ID and you can see currently there's only one cluster in the GDN. You can add a secondary cluster by creating a new one. Now we have the GDN set up. The GDN has a primary cluster in West US and a secondary cluster in East US. We can now configure the website to use East US PolarDB cluster. Apply for a public endpoint. And add your web host to the whitelist. Then modify your website to use the new endpoint. Now the website should be using the new database cluster.